Happy Friday, and welcome to another episode of Brainscratch. I'm John Lordan. Thank you so much for spending some time with us here today. As we enjoy the holiday season, we're also getting ready to close out 2022 and start a new year. But on January 22nd of 2023, one family won't be thinking about their future. They'll be asking, why are we here 6 years later with no answers and no justice for Andre Fuqua? It was a Sunday night back in 2017. Around 11:36 p.m., police were dispatched to the scene of an accident on I-37 just past Violet Road in Corpus Christi, Texas. The 2016 Subaru Crosstrek had rolled off the interstate and was upside down, but as officers approached, they saw this wasn't a typical highway accident. The driver's side door was riddled with bullets. Inside, 25-year-old Andre Fuqua was clinging on to life, dealing not only with the trauma from the accident, but several gunshot wounds. He was taken to Christus Spohn Hospital to be treated. Law enforcement quickly put the word out in local media that they were looking for anyone with closed-circuit cameras that may have captured video footage that could help their investigation. Unfortunately, Andre would pass away a few days later in the hospital due to his injuries. He would become the first homicide victim of the year in Corpus Christi. The Caller-Times reported that it was unclear what led to the shooting, and officers were investigating the incident as an aggravated assault. Senior Officer Kirk Stowers said, "We don't know if he was in the middle of a drive-by shooting or if it was road rage. Whoever is responsible is still at large." Corpus Christi is known for crime problems. Statistics say it has twice the crime of the state's average, and it even comes up on the FBI's database as one of the most dangerous cities in America, being ranked as number 43 back in 2019. But that's not all that Corpus Christi is known for. Due to high wind speeds, Corpus Christi is one of the best cities in North America for kiteboarding, windsurfing, and sailing. And with miles and miles of beaches, it's considered a great vacation spot for active people. Andre was a native of Corpus Christi and certainly was an active person. He was a member of the Corpus Christi Roadrunners, a running club, a self-proclaimed free-spirited runner who needed adventure without plans. According to his obituary, Andre Dwayne Fuqua was a marathon runner and a nature lover. He was born on December 2nd, 1991. He graduated from Flower Bluff High School in 2010 and attended Texas A&M Kingsville, studying kinesiology with a desire to work with special needs children and, of course, to coach track. He was best known for his achievements in long-distance running, his love of hiking in Big Bend, and a big-hearted, fun-loving, generous personality. But when he wasn't in school, Andre was already living out another one of his dreams, coaching kids and teenagers through the Amateur Athletic Union. He also helped out at his alma mater, Flower Bluff High School. One commenter on his Legacy.com page said that he wasn't only an incredible runner, but a leader who encouraged his teammates to do their best. Some of Andre's friends actually called him Gandhi, thanks to his gentle, caring nature. His friend of 7 years and frequent running partner, Adrian Marquez, would tell KRIS-TV, quote, "He wouldn't hurt a soul. For that to happen, I think it was just shocking to everybody, just a random attack." Andre's life, taken in a hail of bullets on a late-night drive home, was it completely random? Is it a matter of road rage gone to an extreme, or was the person that was known to have no enemies targeted for a different reason? His friend, Adrian, who works at the running store Fleet Feet, gave more details to KIII-TV, saying, "He came into work to see me before he took off for his last race. I wished him luck." Andre was heading home from a weekend getaway in Hitchcock, about 240 miles east of Corpus Christi, where he ran a trail race on Saturday the 21st called the Horseshoe Trail Run. It was going to be a follow-up race to his big accomplishment that year and his new passion, ultimate trail running. He had recently completed a 100-kilometer trail race. That's 62 miles, all in one shot. His mother would say he loved it. That was his thing. He was just getting into it. He just loved to run. Adrian continued, "On a group chat together, I told him congrats. I know he had a tough race. It was the last we heard from him. Andre's memorial service was held on Saturday, January 28th at First Baptist Church, just a week after his final race. Several group runs and race events have been held in his honor since, and probably will continue to be well into the future. One of those was the Beach to Bay Relay, an event that Andre had previously participated in. Another was the 2017 Trail of Honor Run. He would be there not only in spirit, but on the shirts of many of the runners. His parents stayed out of the media spotlight for the first month, but in February, they stepped forward, trying to appeal to the public for help on their son's case.
We are pleading to the public for any information that would assist us in resolving the death of our son that occurred on Sunday, January 22nd. There are no words that can express our pain.
As frequently happens in cases of this nature, there really isn't much reported from law enforcement in the first year, but as the anniversary of the shooting arrives, we get an interesting investigative angle discussed in the media. Investigators found that Andre traveled a route that included Bayside, Gregory, Taft, and Odom, and then I-37 leading up to the crime scene. That path is clearly not the most direct drive back from Hitchcock. It actually increased his drive time substantially. Why was he driving to those off-the-path locations? Initially, I thought maybe that was part of his free-spirited nature. A YouTube channel that I found that appears to belong to him featured 2 time-lapse videos of nature, one being a sunrise and the other being a lake. Was he taking in some additional sights on the way home? But that late at night doesn't really make a lot of sense. KIII-TV would report that detectives learned he was playing a video game called INGRESS, which is said to be similar to Pokemon Go. Essentially, it's an augmented reality game meant to get you outdoors, what is known as a location-based exer game. You get some exercise while playing by traveling to several different locations. Wikipedia explains that Ingress uses the mobile device's GPS to locate and interact with portals, which are in proximity to the player's real-world location. The portals are physical points of interest where human creativity and ingenuity is expressed, often locations with public art, such as statues and monuments, unique architecture, outdoor murals, historic buildings, or local community hubs. The game uses these portals as elements of a science fiction backstory, along with a continuous open narrative provided through various forms of media. It's basically kind of a twist on geocaching, where the virtual item that you find in a particular location then becomes an item to play a form of capture the flag with, which means that there is a bit of a competitive element in this game. Players are divided into 2 teams who compete against each other. Within the game, players are broken up into one of 2 factions, either the Enlightened or the Resistance. While it appears that the player can only see their own location and not any others, at least through the game, it is possible that players can encounter each other at these locations while they're virtually hacking the item to win it for their team. And if so, could any of that be related to this case? Police told the press there was no concrete evidence. However, they also stated that Ingress is known to attract aggressive players, and they believe it may have been a factor in what happened to Andre that night. The company behind Ingress offers a set of guidelines for players that warn against trespass in its terms of service, according to Wikipedia, and reinforces that the player is responsible for their own conduct while playing the game. They also note that Ingress players have regularly attracted the attention of law enforcement, which makes sense when you have people going to various locations with their phone front and center. Imagine how hard it would be to determine if someone was playing that game or casing a potential crime scene. There have been a few deaths related to Ingress, according to Wikipedia. A 16-year-old in Brazil was struck by a bus while playing back in 2014, and the next year, a player in Ireland fell into the sea and drowned while trying to virtually capture a real-world lighthouse. Outside of accidents, the competitive angle of this game has also apparently raised some issues with players who use unofficial apps to stalk each other, one of those apps being called Riot. An article at Kotaku outlines one Ingress player who came home to a mysterious note, not in her virtual game world mailbox, but on her doorstep. Players in Ingress can come to learn the patterns of their enemies, who need to check in on the locations that they've taken over. And with some third-party apps and a little analysis, they can apparently figure out the most important location in that player's life, their home. The Kotaku article highlights several disturbing occurrences where players might block another player's car to stop them from checking in on their locations, or even contract players in other countries to attack locations being captured by enemies of theirs while their enemies are on these vacations. One player made the point that there's always a level of risk involved in playing a location-based game, especially one that puts enemy players right in front of each other. All that being said, finding a home location where someone might be sending a lot of in-game messages from the same IP address and triangulating location based on their movement and interaction with points of interest around them is quite a bit different than being able to track a person as they're actively driving across the state. If Andre's shooting is related to Ingress, in my mind, it would have come from a location that he stopped at, was identified as an enemy teammate at, and was possibly followed from there. While it certainly seems possible, is it reasonable? Of course, how many cases do we look into where reason seems to be completely missing from the equation? For a city that has an almost unbelievably high homicide clearance rate, reportedly, they solve around 90% of the cases in Corpus Christi, according to the Caller Times, which is pretty much unheard of in a country where the national average is down to almost 50%. Andre's case remains one of the few longer-term unsolved cases and is one of only 2 cases from 2017 that is unsolved in that area. The other being a 33-year-old named Steven Gomez, who was also found shot in his truck, but I don't believe it was while he was driving. Andre's friend Adrian would say, "I think that is always the tragic part, not knowing exactly what happened, not knowing who did this. For this to happen to one of the nicest people you know. Bad things happen to good people." He also has a call to the public and the person who might have the info investigators are waiting for. Put yourself in our shoes, or anyone else's shoes who lost someone they loved. Do the right thing. If you have information about this case and you're ready to call it in, we have the phone numbers you need in the description box down below. If you have to remain anonymous, we also have a number down there for Crime Stoppers. You can pass along that information without your name, and you'll still be eligible for any reward that's offered. Another friend, Adam Lopez, said, "We want justice. Not just for Andre, but especially for his parents. He's an only child. We want closure to this chapter in their lives." Andre's mother, Sheila, spoke to the Caller Times about how some days she can cope, and then there are those other days, the ones where she stands by her son's bedroom door and breaks down. Quote, "I try to get out of the house and go somewhere because I get so angry. They say as time goes on, it gets easier, but it hasn't gotten easier. We go on because we have to go on. The person or persons who did this, they're cowards. How do they go on? How do they go forward and live their lives knowing what they've done to me, to my family, and to Andre's friends? You just don't think it's going to happen to you, and it does." Sheila also noted that while police solve a lot of these cases, quote, "I don't see it happening anytime soon in my son's case." Her husband, Greg, also struggles as he tries to keep things moving forward by reaching out to investigators and public figures. Greg and Sheila don't hear from the investigators as often anymore. He says, "The hurt goes on, and we'd like to have closure. It's being reiterated to me that they're still working on it, and my only question is, where can we go from here? We have to go out on our own." Today's case actually came to me as a request from someone who identified themselves as part of Andre's family, and I just want this family to know that you're not on your own. There are a lot of caring people out here in the true crime community, and we're standing with you, searching for answers and waiting for justice for Andre. And in that, I'm talking about you, and I'm asking, if you have any friends in Texas, please help us keep awareness to this case raised by sharing this video with them. What does law enforcement have to say about all this? As of the latest update I could find, lead detective Charla Hemmerly said that they're waiting on lab evidence and holding out for that one phone call that will lead detectives to the truth. In terms of the lab evidence, is it bullet forensics? Were there any shell casings found at the scene? We don't know. But with a case that has an investigative lead so focused on technology, I'm hoping investigators are considering trying to run a little geofence of their own and try to track the phones that might have been in the area at the time of the shooting. Lieutenant Mark Tully of the Corpus Christi Police's Robbery and Homicide Division added, "Sometimes it may appear like we're not doing anything, but we don't want to give out things we do know and potentially mess up the case down the line." Andre's mother still has gratitude for the investigators working her son's case. Quote, "We pray every day that something happens. I just wish there could be justice done, but no matter what happens, I can't get my son back." And while she's correct, there actually is more than the spirit of Andre living on. Even in his passing, he was always looking to help others. Andre had previously signed up as an organ donor. I wanted to find an organization that we could give to in order to honor his memory, and I found DonateLife.net. Donate Life America is a 501c3 nonprofit organization trying to increase the number of donated organs, eyes, and tissues available to save and heal lives. One organ, eye, and tissue donor can save and heal more than 75 lives. So if you haven't yet, please give some good consideration and thought to becoming an organ donor. Your good friend here on the LordanArts channel has been one for many years, and please consider joining me in making a donation to honor Andre. Of course, I can't do all this and make donations without good people like you. I'd like to thank PayPal supporters Larissa Mertschink, Hillary Green, Brandy Fry, and Sigrid E. O'Hearn. Since 2015, we've always run limited commercial ads for the benefit of the viewers and the families we're trying to help. Obviously, we can't do that without support. If you'd like to help, please visit LordanArts.com. There, you can sign up for Patreon, sign up for PayPal, buy merchandise, or even just buy us a coffee like Amy Kay recently did. We really appreciate your support on our mission to run as few ads as possible and help as many cases as we can. Thank you, KRIS-TV, KIII-TV, 101corpuschristi.com, Caller.com, Legacy.com, Crime Online, CCPDblotter.wordpress.com, The Atlantic, Kotaku, and Wikipedia for information contributing to today's story. Have a nice weekend, everyone, and please join us next week for our final week of programming in 2022. On Monday, a gripping case based on something that happened just this month. Wednesday, an update on a Searchlight case we've covered before that may bring the answers that we've been waiting for. And finally, we'll finish off the year with a special Brainscratch update on Friday, diving into the top 7 questions we can now answer about the Somerton man, Charles Webb. All of that next week, right here on the LordanArts channel.